Have you ever felt a strange fatigue or pain and just brushed it off as aging? What if those small, quiet signals were actually your body's early warnings? Could clogged arteries be building up without you even realizing it? For many older adults, heart attacks and strokes appear to strike suddenly, like lightning out of a clear sky. But in reality, the body often gives subtle warnings long before any crisis unfolds. The trouble is, these signals aren't always loud or dramatic. In fact, they can be so mild or ordinary that most people dismiss them as just part of getting older. But doing that might be a dangerous mistake. This video is dedicated to anyone over 60 who wants to stay proactive about their heart health, live longer, and enjoy a better quality of life. We're going to walk you through 5 signs, often overlooked and surprisingly common, that your arteries might be slowly clogging. These aren't the classic symptoms you've probably heard before, like sharp chest pain or shortness of breath. Instead, we're talking about lesser-known indicators, subtle clues you might ignore every day, that could be your body's way of waving a silent red flag. So stay tuned. By the end of this video, you'll be more aware, more empowered, and better prepared to take control of your heart health with confidence. Let's dive in. Sign 1. Jaw or neck discomfort. When most people think of clogged arteries, their minds instantly go to chest pain. But what if one of the earliest clues had nothing to do with your chest at all? In fact, discomfort in your jaw or neck could be one of the first and most overlooked signs that your arteries are narrowing. It's surprisingly common, and yet rarely recognized for what it is. This kind of discomfort often shows up during physical activity or emotional stress, quietly signaling that something deeper may be wrong. And the longer this warning is ignored, the more serious the consequences can become. When arteries begin to narrow, it's not just the heart that suffers. The restricted blood flow can lead to a phenomenon called referred pain, where discomfort shows up in areas like the lower jaw, throat, shoulders, or even the back. For many older adults, this pain doesn't feel sharp or intense, but more like a tightness, pressure, or dull ache that comes and goes. Because it doesn't match the classic image of someone clutching their chest in pain, many people assume it's just muscle tension, arthritis, or even dental problems. Take Eleanor, 74, for example. She began to notice a strange soreness in her jaw whenever she took her usual afternoon walks. At first, she assumed she was grinding her teeth at night or tensing her jaw without realizing it. But the discomfort kept coming back, especially when she exerted herself, and always disappeared once she stopped to rest. After some urging from her daughter, Eleanor finally saw her doctor. The result? Angina, chest pain caused by reduced blood flow to the heart, was presenting as jaw discomfort. She was completely shocked. That odd, nagging soreness was actually a warning sign that her heart was in trouble. There's a psychological reason why signs like these are so easily missed or misinterpreted. As we grow older, many of us become seasoned at brushing off discomfort. After all, we've spent decades pushing through aches, stiffness, and all sorts of physical annoyances. It becomes second nature to dismiss new sensations as just another sign of aging. But here's the truth. Just because something is subtle doesn't mean it's harmless. In fact, when it comes to your arteries, these quiet signals might be the only warnings you get before something far more serious, like a heart attack, strikes. So if you've been experiencing an odd tightness in your jaw, pressure in your neck, or any kind of recurring discomfort that appears during physical exertion or emotional stress, don't overlook it. This isn't about being alarmed, it's about being aware. Being proactive doesn't mean living in fear. It means listening to your body with the respect it deserves. You've made it this far in life, and you deserve to enjoy your later years with energy, peace of mind, and vibrant health. But that kind of well-being begins with paying attention to what your body is trying to tell you, even when the signs feel small or easy to ignore. Now let's move to sign 2, fatigue during mild activity. If you're feeling unusually tired after something as basic as climbing a few steps or taking a gentle walk around your neighborhood, it might seem like it's just a part of aging. But here's the catch. If you're over 60 and suddenly find yourself running out of steam, doing things that never used to wear you out, your body could be trying to send you a warning. This kind of fatigue isn't always the result of a bad night's sleep or natural aging. It might actually be a sign that your heart isn't receiving the oxygen-rich blood it needs. When your arteries start to narrow, blood flow becomes restricted. That means your muscles aren't getting the oxygen and nutrients they rely on, and that leads to exhaustion, even during light activity. Even the simplest tasks, walking out to check the mailbox, tending to your garden, or carrying a few bags of groceries, can start to feel like a full workout. When your arteries are narrowing and your heart has to pump harder just to keep blood moving, your energy drains quickly. But it's not just your body that feels the strain. You might also notice that your mind starts to lag. Mental fog, difficulty focusing, or even a strange irritability that seems to come out of nowhere. What makes this especially difficult is how easy it is to brush off. Many older adults think to themselves, well, of course I'm slowing down. I'm not 40 anymore. But the truth is, it's not just about your age. It's about how well your blood is flowing. Plenty of people in their 70s and even 80s remain active, alert, and full of energy. They go on walks, enjoy hobbies, and move through their days without hitting a wall of exhaustion. So when your energy suddenly drops in a way that feels off, when it doesn't match your usual baseline, that's something to pay attention to. It could be your body's way of saying, hey, something's not right. And there's more to it than just physical fatigue. There's an emotional toll, too. When you no longer have the stamina to do the things you love, like attending family gatherings, running errands, or meeting up with friends, it's easy to start withdrawing. You skip social outings, say no to invitations, and before you know it, you're spending more time alone. That isolation leads to less activity, which in turn increases the risk of both physical decline and cognitive slowdown. So what starts as a clogged artery doesn't just impact your heart. It ripples out and touches your mood, your relationships, and your daily quality of life. Let me give you a real-life example. Walter, a 72-year-old man, used to walk to his favorite neighborhood coffee shop every morning, something he looked forward to. But gradually, he began noticing that about halfway there, he'd feel unusually winded and would have to sit down on a bench just to catch his breath. Walter started noticing that his legs felt unusually heavy, and he became short of breath more quickly than before. At first, he didn't give it much thought. He figured it was just a part of getting older. But one day, his daughter pointed out something he hadn't seen, a faint bluish tint on his lips. That one small observation prompted a trip to the doctor. After running several tests, they discovered that Walter's arteries were more than 80% blocked. Thankfully, they caught it just in time. It was a close call, but a wake-up call too. That's why, if you find yourself feeling unusually tired during simple daily tasks, like walking across the house, carrying laundry, or climbing a short flight of stairs, don't dismiss it. You know your body better than anyone else. When something feels off, pay attention. That inner voice nudging you to take notice isn't weakness, it's your wisdom speaking. Your body is constantly communicating with you. Sometimes it whispers before it screams. So don't ignore the whisper. If you're still with us in this video and these insights are resonating, drop a comment with the number 2 below to let me know you're here and staying informed. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I encourage you to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any future videos. Your support helps us keep creating content that's meant to inform, protect, and inspire you to live your healthiest life possible. Now let's continue with sign 3. Erectile difficulties in men. When arteries begin to narrow and restrict blood flow, the first warning signs don't always show up in the heart or the brain. In fact, it often begins in the smallest blood vessels in the body. And for many men over 60, one of the earliest and most telling signs of poor circulation is something that may go unnoticed or unspoken because it shows up in the bedroom. Erectile dysfunction, or difficulty maintaining an erection, can be much more than just a moment of frustration or embarrassment. It can be your body's way of signaling that your arteries are not delivering blood properly. And understanding this connection is crucial for your heart health and overall well-being. An erection depends entirely on healthy blood circulation. Without strong, steady blood flow, it simply doesn't happen. The arteries in the penis are actually much smaller than the ones leading to the heart. That's why, when plaque begins to build up in the body, these smaller blood vessels are often the first to feel the impact. So, when blood flow starts to slow due to narrowing arteries, the effects often show up here, long before you'd ever suspect heart trouble. This means that for many men, issues with sexual performance aren't just about aging or stress. They can be one of the earliest red flags pointing to underlying cardiovascular disease. Unfortunately, too many older men write it off as a natural part of aging and never bring it up to their doctor. That silence can delay critical care. Take Raymond, for example. At 68, he was generally healthy. He stayed fairly active, paid attention to his diet, and didn't have any major health complaints. But over time, he began to notice changes in the bedroom. It wasn't a dramatic shift, just a gradual difference. It took longer for things to happen, and sometimes it just didn't work like it used to. He didn't feel sick, just frustrated and a little embarrassed. Convinced it was just part of getting older, he kept quiet and didn't seek help. Months later, while climbing the stairs at home, Raymond felt a strange tightness in his chest. Not painful, but enough to catch his attention. That finally prompted him to see his doctor. After a series of tests, the results were clear. Multiple arteries were significantly blocked. The signs had been there for a while. They just hadn't looked like heart trouble. There's also a more personal, emotional layer to all of this. For many men, sexual health is deeply tied to their identity, confidence, and emotional balance. When something changes in that area, it can quietly wear away at self-esteem. And because of the sensitive nature of this sign, it's one of the most likely to remain unspoken, hidden even from those closest to us. But ignoring the problem doesn't make it disappear, and it certainly won't pause what's happening inside your arteries. Change in sexual function is more than just a private frustration. It could be your body's early alert system trying to protect you. If you've noticed things aren't working the way they used to, don't feel ashamed and don't stay silent. Instead, see it for what it really is. A potential warning that gives you the chance to act before something more serious, like a heart attack or stroke, occurs. The encouraging news is that many men who catch this early and take steps, whether through lifestyle changes or medical treatment, can restore their sense of vitality. More importantly, they can avoid life-threatening cardiovascular events. It's not just about intimacy. It's about staying alive, healthy, and confident. Often, the signs we feel most reluctant to talk about are the ones we most need to pay attention to. Your body doesn't lie. It's always telling you the truth. The key is whether you're ready to listen. Now, let's move on to sign 4. Memory fog or mental slowness. Have you been forgetting things more than usual lately? Do you find yourself losing your train of thought mid-sentence or struggling to remember a name that should be on the tip of your tongue? It's easy to chalk this up to normal aging, but what if that mental fog is actually linked to something deeper, like clogged arteries? After the age of 60, poor circulation is one of the most underestimated causes of memory decline. And the trouble is, it often begins in silence. The brain is a demanding organ. It makes up only about 2% of your body's total weight, yet it requires around 20% of your oxygen and energy supply. That fuel is delivered through your arteries. When those arteries start to narrow or harden due to plaque buildup, the flow of oxygen and nutrients to your brain slows down. And here's the catch. It doesn't always show up in a dramatic way, like a stroke. Sometimes it begins with something as simple as struggling to concentrate, taking longer to find the right word, or feeling like your thoughts are moving through fog. More often than not, the signs are subtle. Forgetting names more often, having difficulty focusing, or feeling like your brain just isn't firing on all cylinders the way it used to. It's not that you're completely lost or confused, but there's a sense that your sharpness is slipping. Things that once came easily now take more mental effort. You find yourself walking into a room only to wonder what you came in for, or reading the same paragraph over and over because it simply won't stick. Let's look at a real example. Carol, age 72, had always been quick-thinking, organized, and known for her sharp memory. But over the past year, she began to notice something had changed. She was mixing up dates on her calendar, misplacing items more frequently, and rereading the same lines in books without retaining them. It didn't feel like her. Her friends reassured her that it was just part of growing older, but deep down, her instincts told her something else was going on. Eventually, she scheduled a checkup. The results were eye-opening. Carol had high blood pressure and early signs of carotid artery narrowing, the very vessels that supply her brain with oxygen-rich blood. Once she took steps to improve her circulation through a combination of lifestyle changes and medication, her mental clarity began to slowly return. It wasn't instant, but the improvement was undeniable. There's also an emotional side to this struggle that many don't talk about. For seniors, memory lapses can bring up intense fear of dementia, fear of becoming a burden, fear of losing independence. But understanding that clogged arteries can be a root cause of these changes offers something powerful: hope. Because if circulation is the issue, there's a real chance to turn things around, especially when it's caught early. This isn't a life sentence. It's a wake-up call. So if you've been feeling more forgetful lately, don't automatically blame it on aging. Ask yourself, is this truly normal for me, or could there be something else happening beneath the surface? The encouraging part is that your brain has an incredible ability to recover. When blood flow improves, mental function often follows. And if you're still with us and finding this information helpful, please comment the number 4 below. I'd love to know you're here, learning and taking steps to protect your health. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now is a great time to do it. Hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a future video. Your support truly helps us keep creating content designed to inform, empower, and inspire you toward better health every day. Let's keep going. Sign 5. Erectile difficulty or reduced sexual function. Most people wouldn't immediately link issues in the bedroom with the health of their heart, but in reality, this is one of the body's earliest and most sensitive warning signs that something may be wrong with your arteries. Problems with erectile function can begin to appear years before any other major symptom surfaces. That's why, after the age of 60, it becomes especially important not to ignore changes in sexual performance, not just because of intimacy or emotional well-being, but because it may be an early clue about your heart's condition. Here's what makes this so relevant. Achieving and maintaining an erection depends entirely on healthy blood flow, and the blood vessels involved in that process, they're much smaller and more delicate than the larger arteries supplying blood to your heart or brain. That means they're often the first to feel the impact when plaque begins to accumulate. So, when blood struggles to reach these narrow vessels, the result is often a decline in function, something many men notice but hesitate to talk about. Too often, this change is blamed on aging or a drop in testosterone. But research tells us something different. Numerous studies have confirmed that erectile dysfunction can serve as a reliable early indicator of coronary artery disease. In other words, what seems like a private, even embarrassing issue may actually be a red flag for your cardiovascular health. Let's consider Frank, a 69-year-old retired engineer. He lived an active lifestyle, stayed relatively fit, and took pride in maintaining good habits. But over the span of a year or so, he began to notice subtle changes. Nothing extreme, just a decrease in performance and a dip in desire. At first, he brushed it off, thinking it was part of the normal aging process. At first, Frank shrugged it off as just another part of getting older. But one day, a close friend mentioned that he had gone in for a heart scan after experiencing similar issues. That simple conversation stuck with Frank. A few weeks later, he decided to do the same. What he discovered left him stunned. He had significant arterial narrowing, particularly in the arteries supplying his lower body and heart. Thankfully, the problem was caught before it turned into something more dangerous. With the right treatment and meaningful lifestyle adjustments, Frank's circulation began to improve. But it wasn't just about blood flow. His confidence returned. His energy levels picked up. He felt like himself again, more alive, more engaged, more optimistic. Now, let's take a moment to look at this issue from a psychological perspective. For many older men, a decline in sexual performance feels deeply personal. It's often tied to one's sense of masculinity, self-worth, and emotional balance. When things start to change in this area, it can trigger shame, frustration, and even lead to feelings of isolation or depression. But what if we looked at it differently? Reframing the situation as a circulatory issue rather than a personal shortcoming removes blame and opens the door to practical solutions. Instead of thinking, "I'm just getting old," the better question becomes, "Is my body trying to tell me something important?" And this doesn't only apply to men. Women, too, may notice changes in sexual function due to poor circulation, such as dryness, reduced sensitivity, or a general lack of interest. These signs, though often dismissed or quietly tolerated, can be early indicators of problems with arterial health. Because they're private and rarely discussed, many people overlook them altogether. But whether it's happening to you or your partner, these changes can be your body's way of signaling that something deeper is going on. Rather than feeling embarrassed or defeated, consider it a nudge to take action. Addressing blood flow and heart health might not only enhance intimacy, but could improve your vitality, mood, and long-term health in more ways than you realize. By now, you might be starting to realize that clogged arteries don't always make a grand entrance. There's no flashing light, no dramatic chest-grabbing moment, at least not at first. More often, your body gives you gentle nudges. It whispers long before it ever raises its voice. And the 5 signs we've explored today, unusual fatigue, jaw or neck discomfort, leg pain while walking, frequent indigestion, and changes in sexual function, are those quiet whispers. These signs aren't shared to scare you. They're shared to empower you, because the more we understand the language of our own bodies, the more we can respond with confidence and clarity. As we get older, it becomes all too easy to assume that every discomfort, every change in our energy or focus, is just part of aging. But here's the truth. When we automatically label every symptom as normal, we may overlook serious opportunities to act early and protect our future. Many of the physical shifts we chalk up to aging are actually rooted in something far more manageable: declining circulation. And unlike the natural aging process, poor circulation is often treatable. In fact, with the right information, lifestyle changes, and timely medical support, improvements can be significant, even life-changing. Take a moment and reflect. How many people have you known who seemed perfectly fine until suddenly they weren't? A heart attack with no warning, a stroke that came out of nowhere. But if you look back, were there signs? More often than not, those events weren't truly sudden. The body had been speaking for weeks, months, even years. The signals were simply overlooked. And maybe, just maybe, you've recognized 1 or 2 of these signs in yourself or in someone you deeply care about. That doesn't mean it's too late. In fact, it means this is the right time to listen, to pay attention, and to act. Start by tuning into your body with fresh awareness. What is it telling you? What has it been trying to say? Because when you respond to the whispers, you might just avoid the scream. Talk to your doctor about anything you've noticed, even if it seems small. The earlier you take action, the more control you have over protecting your heart, your brain, and your independence. You've worked hard your whole life. Don't let hidden symptoms quietly steal the vitality and peace of mind you deserve. Responding early can mean the difference between fear and freedom, between decline and renewed strength. You deserve to enjoy your later years with clarity, confidence, and energy. Don't let your body's whispers go unheard. Stay curious about your health, stay proactive in your decisions, and above all, stay hopeful, because small steps today can lead to a much brighter tomorrow. Thank you so much for spending your time with us today. We'd love to hear from you, so leave a comment below and share one insight you gained from this video, and how you plan to apply it in your daily life. Your voice truly matters. We read every comment, and your thoughts give us the motivation to keep going and keep creating content that serves you. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who might need it. Your support helps us continue bringing you content that informs, empowers, and inspires. Wishing you good health, happiness, and peace always. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel to stay connected.